Certainly inspired by Thin Lizzy, even from way back. You know, I think Cliff Burton was the biggest Thin Lizzy fan of us all, introducing harmonies into Metallica back on Ride the Lightning days, and good to get back to that again. The dual harmonies are really a part of Metallica, so a lot in there. And the other riff, the verse riff, that's kind of tough. That's all down picking. That was very touchy. If it was played a little too fast, it was really too hard to play. If it was too slow, it didn't feel quite right. So that one had to be really precise, right on the beat.
And over that section that he's talking about, I went for the low B register, and the thicker, beefier string, and tried to accommodate his right hand and that pattern down in that register, which was kind of different and weird, but fun to do. At the end of the line, it was a good time.
Unforgiven 3, who'da thunk? Unforgiven would spawn, the story would make it to the third.
Right.
And who knows? But yeah, that's really one of the only songs that has continued on in Metallica albums. Somewhat of a storyline of basically, about sin and consequence, forgiveness and unforgiveness, asking for forgiveness, not being able to forgive yourself. There's all kinds of things that tie in when metaphors along with that. This time tied in around a ship lost at sea kind of vibe. So it's got a real lonely feel to it. Really love that. Adrift at sea, really very lost. But also still sticking with some of the theme on how The Unforgiven was written, riff-wise and into chorus and things like that. It was funny. We put up the song titles were revealed somehow before we could reveal them. And Unforgiven 3, people were, oh, how cheesy, how terrible. Oh, it must be the instrumental. Lots of talk. Lots of. You get the chat room. It's like throwing two dogs in a room and just go.
Right.
You shut the door and they fight and fight and fight, and then finally, when they actually hear the song, there's just no fighting. It's like, yeah. It's kind of funny, but it creates a vibe. It creates, tension, or it creates, some angst about the stuff coming out. But this song is unbelievable. It moves me every time I hear it. I started off with the intro, writing a little intro piece, hopefully really sad, not unlike Ennio Morricone, that kind of feel. And then had Rick Rubin phone in a arranger, and an orchestra basically came in and played on the song, and I think it adds a huge dimension to it. Adds a powerful bit of class to the song.
It's got a great flow, and like James says, it's very dynamic. So it's a great body of music to have on this album, and kind of connected to everything else that's going on.
The Day That Never Comes, working title, Casper, written in Casper, Wyoming.
It's, pretty dark ballad. It's kind of a traditional sort of thing, that we do with ballads. We lure you in with the softness of the ballady ways that it is.
Good thing I'm wearing sunglasses because my eyes are rolling right now.
And then we just come in and it's just crushing. We just flatten you.
The subject matter is not really happy either.
Right. Pretty dark.
Yeah, it is very dark. Lyrics came long later, but that had very different feels, lots of different feels along the way.
Yeah, this song cycled through a lot of changes before we actually ended up with what we have now. Particularly the chorus went through a bunch of changes as well.
We discovered, we need to get back to a little more intricate picking, picking with a melody within it, a la Fade to Black, a la Sanitarium, things like that. So this ended up a little more of a picking within, or a melody within a picking, and just kind of writing it right there in the studio.
I can remember the instrumental part of the back half of the song coming together fairly quickly when we were working on it.
It came together literally in an afternoon.
Yeah.
The tag, as we call it, which is 3.5 minutes long, longer than most songs. But the outro came together really quickly. And I don't know, some of these things just kind of write themselves, and some other things sit around for years and years, and you struggle with it and just waiting for the right thing to happen.
The vocal melody came pretty quickly, and it was just belonged. It belonged
just
there.
Stuck from the gate. I remember trying to really develop a bass part for the intro, and it's tricky sometimes when you have a lot of space, but then you also got melody, coming through the guitar speaking a certain way. You got to figure out how to get your bass part in there between Lars's kick drums and snares, and then the notes that James is picking on there. So it was a bit of a challenge for me, and I really sort of took my time in developing it. And it was one of those things where right down to where we're tracking it, it's like, okay, this is cool.
To comment on the guitar solo, that also came together in the afternoon too. And the guitar, it's almost like a written part, because I just sat down and that solo came out, and it worked for the song, and we really didn't even change it at all from that afternoon on.
It's like almost like a wild roller coaster ride at times, that middle section. And I remember when I was playing that bass part, that da-da-da-da-da-da, originally it was just the bass on its own, and it was maybe a little bit too jazzy on its own. So we kind of restructured it and got the rhythms in there, the heavy rhythms, and you started barring it. You actually figured out the notes, and you hit the bar chords on that one, which is really
that's
cool.
a pretty big challenge, doing the rhythms to that bass run.
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Good challenge. Up for that.
All right, right here.
German Soup, Cyanide. We were asked to play, a version of SOS. How would Metallica play SOS? We came up with this riff based on the Morse code rhythm of SOS, and we liked it so much that we just took it upon ourselves to put it in one of our songs. And so what you hear, the very first thing you hear, is us playing SOS but Metallica style, and then it kicks into the next riff and the song starts. And it's a pretty dark subject, cyanide, I've already died. Just to add to the other uplifting songs on the album, it just, fits right in place. The breakdown in the middle has a sort of like Mid-Eastern sort of feel, a harmonic minor sort of feel, if you're a musician. And it's
that whole middle section he's talking about, again, originally came from another song called Munich.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is why it's now ended up being German Soup, because it was originally called Chicken Soup.
Chicken Soup and
merged with Munich became German soup. There you go. Welcome to the crazy world of Metallica.
Yeah, Metallica terminology at its best. And the chorus, to me, is just like one of the heavier choruses we've ever written, because it's a riff that kind of cycles through, but it doesn't really cycle through anything in particular. And the phrasing of the riff in the chorus is really unique, and I really, really think that James did a incredible job in singing over that riff, because it doesn't actually mirror the riff. He sings with it, but he doesn't, and it was just really great how that particular part turned out.
The Judas Kiss.
It starts in one place and takes you so far out, and then kind of reels you back in, and it's quite a musical journey. It cycles through all these different sorts of bits of music, and it's a roller coaster ride. Listen to that song.
I'll be the guy that just says what combination of two songs they were. Gym Bag is a combination of Punch Bag and Gym, hence Gym Bag, right? The whole middle part after the second chorus comes from Gym, and the first chorus cycles comes from Punch Bag, hence Gym Bag, hence the Judas Kiss. So that's more factual.
I have to say again, lyrically, I think what James has written is just above and beyond, a lot of stuff that he's done. It's almost as if he's reaching out to the listener's neck and just wrangling it, with the way he sings it. I mean, there's just so much commitment to it. He means it.